Hello, hi, good evening. Welcome to another session of Graphology questions and queries. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And as we get more people joining me live and adding questions and queries, we shall we shall go for it. We've got a bunch of interesting questions here lined up. Okay. Okay. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. All good wishes, no matter where you are in the world right now. Okay, so the first question I have seen here is what happens when a person has a letter O which has got loops inside it? Now, whether the letter O has a loop on the left side or the right side, on the middle, double loop, doesn't matter. It just makes the aspect of completion of an activity a bit complicated, and the sense of satisfaction of completing activities is very difficult for these people. Even if something gets over, there's always something more they've expected or always something more that they wanted. Satisfaction for a person with a looped O is very difficult. Okay. Next question is what if somebody puts two dots on the letter I structure? If you draw I letter structure and instead of putting one dot, if you put two dots, well, two dots can mean that there could be a slight fluctuation of the person's ability to focus on momentary thoughts. When a person has got multiple ideas coming into the mind, which is not necessarily uh, categorized as a gratitude or a thoughtfulness, it's just you get ideas, but you don't know what to do with them. That's when the double dots can create a bit of a confusion. When you have two dots on the letter I, it makes the person get confused with timing of thoughts, timing of activities to be done or activities to be thought about. All right. So we have another question here. If you want to know the basic idea of what a good signature is, then just make sure that the signature represents you in the most clear and simple way form possible. You can have fanciness in the signature, but you have to pay the price of being fancy. Okay, if you are able to sustain a fancy signature, then by all means you should go for it. But a simple signature can represent a lot of good power and it's much more efficient. I have a whole list of 7 videos on my YouTube channel. You can go through them. It's about signature enhancement guidelines. So with that playlist, you can understand how to make a better signature for yourself on your own. Okay, so next question. Question here is when does a person practice handwriting change? Okay, so let's say you started graphology or you started a course of graphotherapy and you want to know how often you want to write so that you can bring about changes. So, writing for at least 20 minutes a day, half an hour a day, on your own meaningful thoughts, your ideas would be useful while you're targeting a certain letter structure to come out correctly. And also, if you're a student or a person whose profession or occupation requires them to write often, then that itself can be a good enough uh, point of the day to practice writing a better letter structure. At least 20 minutes a day of writing can be very useful for realigning the programming of your mind or reprogramming your mind to think in a better, newer way. Does graphology apply only to English language? No. In fact, graphology doesn't associate with any language. It associates with geometric patterns. Now, because we're used to seeing certain geometric patterns of a certain language more than the others, that's why we feel that it is associated with the language. But actually, it's geometric patterns. So, we can, if you learn micrographology, you will be able to analyze any letter structure in the world, whether you understand it or not. And if you do macrographology, you can analyze the entire sample of the person, irrespective of the language. So far, in my experience, I've analyzed more than 14 languages of different scriptures. I mean, English, German, French, Spanish, they've got mostly the same letter structure. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about different language letter structures. Like it could be English to Hindi to Gujarati to Malayalam to Korean to Japanese, different letter structures, Arabic. So there are so many letter structures that show thoughts in such a variable manner, and the ingenious of the human mind to experience or express thoughts and thought patterns in different ways is just amazing. What is the next question is what is the personal benefit of learning graphology apart from gaining the skill? Wow, this is a good question. So, obviously, when you learn graphology as a skill, you know how to analyze a person's writing, you know how to understand the person better. You have a friend in front of you, you may understand the person better. You have a business partner in front of you, you know what is going to work with the person or not. Okay. But apart from the analysis part, when you learn graphology, because you analyze people's writing, you understand their mindset. And if that mindset has certain problems that even you are facing, somehow you can learn how to get out of the problems by observing how other people take care of themselves. So let's take for example, if I analyze a person's writing, okay, and I understand only 1% of that person's personality, character, mindset. Huh? Of course, it could be more than that, but talking about the bare minimum. I understand only 1% of the person's lifespan. So, just for the sake of calculation, if let's say the person is 50 years old, 1% would be half a year. Okay, so uh, so that means 6 months worth of life experiences I'm able to understand through the person's handwriting. If I analyze 100 people, that is 600 months of life experiences that I'm able to go through. So think of it. If you knew a person who's read 600 books, you might feel, wow, that person's knowledge and the mind must be so powerful. But in a way, if you interact with 600 people on a personal basis, then you can learn from them in a more different manner. So, learning from a book and learning from a person is almost the same thing. You read a self-help book and you improve something of your life. You read a person's writing and you understand certain things about their mindset which you don't want to incorporate, and you see the trouble that they're going through which you don't want it, and you learn the lesson without the experience. And in a way, you upgrade and update your mind to the point where you start to become more mature than your age. So when you have got hundreds and thousands of samples, years of experience of analysis, you are able to learn from other people's mistakes and avoid them, especially at a mental, emotional, and physical level. The most common problem of any person is stress and how to handle stress. These are the two things which are 100% coming up in all samples. So stress management of different criteria: emotional stress, physical stress, mental stress, financial stress, academic stress, career related stress, old age, young, there's so many things that can give stress to a person. So how they handle that, I can analyze through the writing, and when that stress affects me, because I've learned from the other person, I'm able to deal with it better. So yes, in a certain way, I'm able to have a much more calmer life. I'm able to have a very consistently good, fun, relaxed, chilled out life. Not I'm not When I say chilled out, it's not lack of activity. It's just that I'm chilled out when it comes to stressful moments. Yes, there are times when stress could get to me and I may fall sick. I may get emotionally, mentally rocky and unstable. But while it happens, I'm still aware of it happening, which allows me to get this advantage where I can observe my stress for what it is, and that itself can become a therapy. So when you learn graphology, you do get a kind of a backdoor entry into knowing people's experiences, which gives you a kind of a gaming cheat code. You know how PC games and games, if you put a cheat code, you get extra power, you get extra something that makes the game easier. So that in the game of life, the experiences which I learn from other people's writings, I'm able to learn from them, and then once I incorporate that, I'm able to learn the lesson without the bad experience, so which is a good advantage. Very useful for teenagers, very useful for young people. Fortunately, when I started, I was at the age of 19, so I had a huge amount of reprogramming happening in my mind. If the 19-year-old person who I was met me today, we would not be recognizable mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, no matter what the level is, it's a very different person. And almost every 6 months since that time till now it's almost 17 years, I've been constantly working on myself. So with the expectation, with the skill of graphology, you can have an expectation almost that your life is never going to be the same again in a positive way. Okay. Okay. So the next question is, what if the person has a letter T crossbar that connects directly to the letter H? So now the letter T has got two ways that you can connect to the next letter. So let's take, for example, writing the word the. So THE. So you connect the vertical stem directly to the H, or you write the T first and then the crossbar connects to the letter H. So if your crossbar connects to the letter H, it shows that first of all you want a completed thought pattern for the letter T before you go to the next letter, which shows a good desire to complete and individually identify thoughts. The goals are slightly more clearer, and with that what happens that with the momentum of the goals you're able to get creative ideas and move on with the letter H. So normally when you connect the letter T to the H through the crossbar of T, a loop forms on the upper zone of letter H, and that loop shows a creative momentum which you gain for initiating or doing something new, which is very useful, certainly useful. Okay. what does a loop in the small u mean? So let's take, for example, you write the letter U, and at this point, you wrote the letter U, and at this point here, you get this loop over there. That means that when you learn an aspect of life or you observe certain things randomly, instead of you able to analyze it and understand it, there's a confusion about it. Okay, whenever you have a letter U which is having a loop, it means that this person's ability to learn from life, learn from situations and scenarios is not very strong, and they actually become confused if you point it out to them. For example, let's take for example, you are walking you are walking at an airport. Okay, the tiling is very smooth, and you see somebody almost trip and fall. So the letter U represents this moment where you're supposed to learn from that random experience and take care of your posture, or I mean whatever that allows you to avoid that problem. But then this U with a loop will lead to complicated thoughts rather than just a simple problem solving attitude. Okay, so U and a looped U can be showing distracted learning capabilities, or a sort of subdued learning capabilities. Okay, next question. What if in a full paragraph only one or two letters are written differently? Example, 12 A's are same and two others are very different. So now this all comes down to ratios. The ratio of the consistent letter compared to the different in the different structures means that how consistent the person's life is. So let's take for example, uh, I'm having a normal day today. I wake up, do my work, eat my lunch, eat my breakfast, then I just do all my stuff. I have a bath. Daily activities are going as per the normal course of the day. So that's a normal letter A. Suddenly, somebody comes to my home as a guest, and we are having a good time for a couple of hours, and now the person leaves. So then, for that moment, that A would slightly change. I got a call from somebody, they've got some bad news. I got to take care of certain things. Not easy for me. Now, again, the A will change. So, in that person's lifestyle, whatever that letter structure represents, the ratio of the consistency and the sudden change will show clues of what's happening in the person based on that letter structure meaning. So, if let's say you're talking about letter A, it means that this person's comfort zone out of 14A, 12A is very nice and 2A are shaky. Means you could say around 80% of the time this person's home or comfort zone is nice. To 20% of the time it's a bit dicey. The person is not very, what do you could say, uh, having a good time, or depends on what the letter A structure changes into. Okay, it doesn't have to be a negative ratio, it could be a positive thing also, but the ratio has to be calculated. Okay, all right. So the next one is okay. There's a request for having a separate playlist for cursive writing analysis. Well, cursive writing analysis is a topic in graphology called as connections. So if you learn connections, then analysis of cursive writing will be a very easy thing. Okay. Next question is, how accurate are the outcome of the analysis, and can I judge a person only on the basis of their handwriting? So this is a very interesting question. So what's the accuracy? Now there are a couple of factors that determine the accuracy. First of all, obviously it is the skill of the graphologist. The skill of the graphologist, if it is sharp, well practiced, well experienced, logical thinking, no guesswork, all calculated analysis, then the accuracy goes above 95, 98%. It's very accurate. Whatever the person says about the person is accurate. Now, the depth of the analysis also makes a difference. Why? Because if the person if the person has got an analysis where they're only looking at one trait at a time, only one aspect of the handwriting at a time, and then saying something for the analysis, the statements that are made seem very generalized. Like, let's say, for example, I look at your certain margin and say, you are attached to the past. Now, if you go and talk to any random person on the street and you say, you are attached to the past, there's going to be something that the person is attached to in the past, and he'll say yes. So that's not analysis actually. So accuracy is actually quite easy, but if the nature of the statement is generalized, then it's not analysis anyway. So as a expert graphologist, as a good graphologist, we need to combine multiple traits, and the combination of traits gives us a unique analysis, and that is where accuracy can be tested. Now, the next criteria which could lead to the difference of accuracy is also the self-awareness of the client. The person who's getting their handwriting analyzed, if they don't know certain things about them which are visible in the writing, they may or may not be able to agree to what you're saying. And that doesn't mean that you're wrong, it just means that they don't know whether it's true. Sometimes I've had the experience where I've said a certain point of analysis to a person. Initially, they say, no, that's not right, that's very inaccurate. But after 4 months, after 5 months, suddenly they call up and say, those many months ago you told me this point, I didn't realize it, but now I really observe it, and I didn't realize it until you pointed it out to me. So there are times when the analysis can be so intricate and deep that it doesn't even it's not even easy for the person to identify that as a uh, part of the character. Okay, so analysis of handwriting can be very accurate, and if you'd like to have an experience, please send me a sample of your writing. My email address and my WhatsApp number is there below the video after the video is finished. And in the description box, you can just send it to me, and I'll give you a live demonstration. Now, the next question is, can you judge a person only by the basis of handwriting? You can't judge a person anyway, but yes, you can gauge what is your criteria of association with that person. So let's take, for example, you want a business partner. Okay, vanity analysis can make a big difference between a good yes, like yes, let's go for a partnership, or a big no, rather than finding out after 6 to 8 months of the partnership that this person is not meant for the partnership. So you can use graphology as a tool to take care of certain situations, like business partnerships, teacher and student relations, parent and child relations. Yes, you can do it between girlfriend and boyfriend, wife and husband, but these two relationships don't really benefit from graphology too much. I mean, when there are obvious traits of a person being a bad person, then we tell the person be careful before you get into a relationship. But a bad person can turn into a good person if the relationship is nurturing. So I've seen miracles happening where a person who is very horrible, as soon as he gets the girlfriend or as soon as she gets a boyfriend, whatever the relation, I mean, it just makes the person change for a better. Okay. So as far as personal relations go, graphology doesn't play a very strong role there. But as far as business relations go, as far as let's say employee and staff, boss, those relations, teacher and student, parents and children, these kind of relations can be made better with the help of graphology, or at least understood better. All right. So I hope I've answered the question. Some people write LHD with a loop and some doesn't. What's the difference? So please go through my YouTube channel. You'll find the letter structures LHD. Loops means creative thinking, and retraced means confirmed or obedient thinking. To understand more, it would be better to observe the videos so that you get a better explanation. Okay. Now the next question is: is it more difficult to analyze English compared to other language? No, it depends on your skill. If you've been taught analysis of letter structures based on a language, then you'll be stuck with that language. But if you're taught to analyze letter structures based on geometric patterns, then you're free to analyze any language because you will see geometric patterns, and anyway, the body language used for writing those geometric patterns are going to be similar. Okay. The next question is: how can we improve financial condition through graphology? Well, financial condition can be improved when the actions leading to financial uh, possibilities is done well. Having a good financial setup or income is a result of what you do. So you take care of what you do, and automatically the money will flow. For that, yes, there is graphotherapy that can improve your focus on your work and improve the way you conduct yourself while you work so that the result of earning money could be better. Okay. Next question. Hmm, how to combine traits in micrographology, microanalysis? Well, I teach a concept called as ghosting, which I teach to my advanced level students, where we combine the traits of letter structures and we analyze things in such a way that we almost feel like a ghost in the person's life. We are able to see certain things which nobody knows about them. For that, we need to analyze and combine the traits of different letter structures and form a story pattern. Those story patterns convert into a personality trait which we can analyze and understand more about. So, come, I'll teach you how to combine traits in micrographology if you learn from me. Okay, the next question is: I've been adjusting my handwriting letter by letter based on how I want to change my subconscious mind. My handwriting now has now become a part of cursive and part not cursive on a letter to letter basis. Is it okay, or do you think I should change something? So, if it's good that you're making an effort to change your letter structures and going for improvement of handwriting, but I would highly recommend that you have a teacher while you make changes so that the fine tuning of what changes is good for you can be controlled better. It's like having medicine. Like there are certain medicines in the market that we can give everybody and it solves most of the problems. Like the chemical paracetamol is a very commonly found medicine which is used to treat not treat but reduce the symptoms of many ailments. But that doesn't mean that everybody taking it will have the similar effect. it has to be tailor made, it has to be specified. Medicine, if you give it as a mass thing, 90% of the crowd will be benefited. There'll be always certain people who don't get benefit from that. So same way in graphology, if you learn a generic thing, whether it's from my channel or any channel, any teacher, just make sure that the teacher is guiding you based on what is your requirement. Because if you change a letter structure, whether it's cursive or non-cursive, and if your lifestyle doesn't match it and you don't want it to match your lifestyle, then you'll be in trouble. You incorporated something which you don't need. Okay, the intention may be good, but then if you don't have the knowledge, then you might be asking for trouble that you never really wanted. Okay. And unprescribed medicines normally lead to more hassle than prescribed ones. Correct. So always you practice, at least initially. Start with a teacher, start with a good guide, and then you can carry on on yourself. Alright. Next question is, how much time does one spend for getting good in analysis? So if you want to improve your skill in analysis, minimum 20 minutes a day, at least two samples a day is important. If you can push yourself to five samples a day, it'll be brilliant. Along with that, if you have sample analysis of various different languages, that will really make your skill sharper. It's not easy, but it's really good. Okay. Next is next question is, do I follow any YouTube channel for advanced knowledge? No, I don't follow any other teacher or guide. I have many students who I talk to on a regular basis. I have many teachers who I have not taught, who I connect with on a regular basis to discuss various concepts of graphology, but I don't necessarily use it for advancing my knowledge. It's just for understanding the nature of graphology, of how it is in the market. If I want to advance my knowledge, it's directly in the actual practice of analysis, because that's where the actual research happens. That's where the actual new knowledge is discovered. When doctors talk to each other, they do exchange knowledge, but they learn new things only when they look at the patient. So, analytic analysis is the best way to improve your skill of analysis and to advance your knowledge. Okay, so could you kindly emphasize more on the utility of graphology for from a professional perspective, for instance, corporate world? So the moment I say corporate world, you get this vibe of cold, extra nicely clean offices and technically sound people getting the work done, but there's no humanness. There's warmth and corporate world are two things which don't we're not easily seeing them together. Corporate world normally you get a cold vibe. There are many corporate offices where I've seen there's amazing synergy between people, but that's a very rare perspective. So to make that aspect of the corporate world a little warmer, a little more friendly, a little more human, that's where graphology can play a major role. So we have got something called as recruitment analysis. When you invite a person to work with you in your team, in your company, you should understand that person as a human being. I mean, of course, you're hiring a professional to do your stuff, but the professional is a human being first and then a professional. So if you can manage to understand the person better, then your relation with that person will become more than just office and papers and pens and its work. With that, what happens is that there's a certain trust factor which is very important. Attrition and the problem of people quitting and job skipping can be reduced if you have a better understanding of people who work with you. Remember 30, 40 years ago? when you had these large companies and people worked together, and the owner of the company or the high boss of the company would interact with even the local worker category, and there would be a good synergy between people. And even if that person got a double salary opportunity in another company, he would not leave because there's an emotional bond with the company. And of course, in today's world, it sounds foolishness, but that foolishness is what made companies grow and had a strong brand recognition. If your resume is filled with big company names, but you've only been there for at least a year or two, and you kept skipping every year, then it makes a kind of a cold vibe. So when you're in the corporate world, if you want to improve the relations between employers and new employees, relations with employees who've already been working there for many years. So as you work with relations, boss and employee, employee and boss, then it creates a synergy, creates a harmony, which can make work a bit more nicer. The person coming to your office to work for you will feel nicer to come to work for you. And then the intention of working better pushes the company forward. Integrity is a very important aspect of any successful business, and that can be checked very quickly in the writing. So, if your team of people are not integrous, integrous means just generally going to do good work. Whether they are looked at, whether they have been told to, doesn't matter. Whether the boss is there or not there, are you doing the work with your 100%? That integrity can be checked in the writing. So, if you have a handwriting sample of your people who work with you, and if you are a graphologist by training, you can get a huge advantage. Okay. So next question is, how did you start your own pioneering graphology concepts? Well, when my life changed, that's when the ball started rolling. Necessity is the mother of invention, they say. So as there was a necessity for me to change, and because I knew the concepts of graphology, and because I was able to work with myself for at least 4.5, 5 years. I mean, I'm still working on myself. You can never stop working on yourself anyway. But the first 4 to 5 years of my experience with graphology, I was constantly trying to tweak myself. And during this effort, I was able to understand various aspects of my writing when they changed. Like if something happened in the morning, immediately that evening it would come up in my handwriting and I would observe it. And then if else had that experience similarly, I would ask a sample for them and see the similar trait appearing in their writing too. So that over a period of time, 1,000 samples, 2,000, 3,000, 10, 15, 20,000 samples later, I've got a good experience to understand concepts. All right. So next question is, how can we earn money from graphology? Well, graphology is such a vast field where the associations with different fields of work are so immense. You can earn from innumerable places. So, if you associate with a school and teacher, you can earn from academic graphology. If you associate with an HR or a corporate world, you can earn from recruitment analysis and corporate graphology. If you just a minute. So, when the person has got, let's say, you're into law and criminology, then you can have forensic graphology as a point of earning. If you're dealing with students and teachers, you can earn from academic graphology and child related graphology. Academic graphology and child psychology can be very powerful for society, and of course, you can earn well from it. Teaching somebody else graphology is another way. Graphotherapy, handwriting analysis. You can tell me a profession, and I can tell you how you can earn graphology through graphology with association with that. There are very few professions that cannot benefit from graphology. So what y'all can do is in the chat box, keep writing different professions, and I'll keep telling you how you can associate your skill of analysis with that. Okay, let's see if that works out. How are graphology concepts applied towards children learning to write? So when children learn to write, their motor coordination skills take time to develop. Sometimes it takes 3 to 4 years. From the age of 5 to 6, when they start to hold thick pens and markers, like we initially start with a thick pen so that the grip is easy for the child, and as the child matures and the fingers grow longer, a slimmer pen is easier to handle. And as we understand the letter structures, we can gently to show the child how to improve, and it gives a big head start. Also, normally, if we change children's writing, we do it along with the parents' handwriting, because the programming from where the child's mindset has been programmed needs to be also corrected. If you do improvement of children's handwriting without the knowledge of the parent, or not informing the parent what to expect from this change, then there could be a clash between mindsets when the child changes. So normally children and parents together, we do graphotherapy for them and bring about a change so that the child's writing becomes better and their relations become better. So next question is, how much money am I earning? Well, it's not easy to say the direct amount, but it's good enough to run a house and live a very comfortably luxurious life in a metropolitan city. So just think, if you're staying in a metropolitan city and if you have a comfortable, good life, have a healthy relation, fun-filled life, and it's then you should be able to calculate the amount, whether it's in rupees or dollars or euros. And the best thing about graphology is that I can choose my Monday, I can choose my Sunday. I can have 5 Mondays in a row and work continuously. Or if I feel don't want to work today, I can take a holiday for 10 days, 10 continuous Sundays. No problem. All right. So we've got a person here. Okay, so you're a personal trainer in a gym. So if you're a personal trainer at the gym, how will graphology benefit you? If you understand your clients better, you can understand their mentality and emotions, and you know that physical fitness is directly associated with mental and emotional stress. So if you can counsel the person with emotional and mental tips, then their physical performance and physical improvement and the suggestions that you give them in the physical training at the gym can have faster changes compared to a normal trainer who doesn't care about the person and just giving the person sets to do. In fact, I know my one friend who's a very good gym trainer, trainer in the gym, and because he understands the person better, he focuses on a certain body part to get that psychological effect. So let's take for example, if the person is not able to take responsibilities, this gym trainer shows him how to do better shoulder exercises. A stronger shoulder leads to better responsibilities. So not only are you making the person obviously physically fit, but then the psychological effect of it makes the person feel better. So a gym trainer with a graphology can have a amazing effect. Your suggestions for improving the person's workout will be much more effective. Okay, so next is an art teacher. How does the art teacher develop benefit from graphology? Well, art is all about strokes, and if your strokes of the pen or strokes of the pencil or the crayon is better, then not only is your artwork going to be much more neater, but what you wanted to represent from the mind onto the paper becomes easier. And art is an expression. It works as a way to let go of certain emotions and mentality, pressure and stress. People use art, people use craft to express themselves and let go of ideas. And if that can be analyzed through writing, then we can come to know what the child is going through the drawing, through the coloring, and we can help the child. All right. So next question is general insurance. So when you're a general insurance agent and you want your client to get benefit from the insurance cover that you recommend them. By understanding the handwriting, you'll come to know what is their requirement. You'll understand what is their mentality. What is your pitch that could make it easier for that to convert into a confirmed deal? Like, general insurance agents, they have the biggest difficulty of having the correct pitch so that the client converts to a person who buys the insurance. So if you have the knowledge of their writing, you come to know what is their mentality and you can get a huge advantage. So it can increase the sales conversions for an insurance person. Not for the sake of conversions, but for the sake of providing an insurance cover that makes sense to the client. Okay. So next question is, would a T stem that stays only in the middle, even if there's the upper zone present, indicate something? So the person who's asked the question for the letter T, could you just send me the image of your query to my WhatsApp number? I'm just writing my WhatsApp number in the comment section. Please send me an image of your query and I'll be able to explain and understand your query better so that my explanation is more accurate. All right. Next question is, could you kindly point out the certain traits that indicate integrity of a person's character? So, integrity can be checked at each letter level, and what integrity is lost can be understood through that. So, let's take, for example, the person's handwriting is good, only the letter O is very badly shaped and not written well. So, that means whatever letter O represents, the integrity related to that is not being done well. So letter O means completion of thoughts, completion of activities, repetitive thoughts and activities which need to be completed to be done again and again. That aspect of the person's life lacks integrity. Now, if that makes a difference to you, or your organization, or your association with them, then it needs to be looked into. If the person's A becomes constantly broken up in the writing and everything else is fine, that means this person's comfort zone lacks integrity. So you know the meaning of the letter structure based on graphology. You see where the discrepancies happen, and that is where you know the loss of integrity. All right. So next, take another a person who is in logistics and real estate. Now, logistics. Okay. Now, I don't have much experience with logistics, but I guess when your client wants you to provide a certain service of transportation or aspects of taking things, I guess to improve the trust factor between you and the client. Because normally, when you talk about logistic or real estate, we're talking about large sums of money being transferred to you or you're transferring to somebody else to ask for a service which is very expensive. Real estate can cost thousands and millions of rupees and dollars. So, trust factor, if you want to develop a homogeneous interaction with the person, then graphology can play a very important role. For example, let's say you have a real estate agent who is searching for a home for you. Now, obviously, you know that this person is going to understand your criteria of what a home is, and then search for it. But if your friend who's a real estate agent searches a home for you, then suddenly there's a very nice feeling of trust that you know that person is going to search for you things because of the way he knows you and he knows what you like. So even if sometimes you see a certain real estate opportunity which didn't match to you, but he's your friend, so you know that you can be kinder to him and give him another chance to search something better. So when a stranger comes to you for a real estate advice or a logistic advice, to convert that stranger into an acquaintance to into a friend, so that the trust factor is the basis on which you are going to talk to the person, that's where graphology can be very useful. Okay. Now, the next question is okay. Is there any person who wants another profession? Okay, we got fund manager. So you're a person who is uh, in the position where you're going to provide funds for maybe research or maybe some projects, maybe some startup. It could be a fund for certain things. So you can come to know the your client's integrity level, your client's purpose, your client's focus, client's ability to match his words with his actions. Yes, as a fund manager, risks are always very high because until and unless the person receives the fund, the person looks very enthusiastic. But once the funds are received, to make sure that the enthusiasm carries on is very important. All right, so we have a letter structure here which has been sent through my WhatsApp. Now I'll share this image on the screen and hopefully we shall discuss something about it. Okay, so we have, I hope you all can see this letter structure on the screen right now. Okay, so this is the letter T, capital T, I guess. So if you have a capital T that looks like this, then it shows that the person's thoughts about his goals and ideas are much influenced by the past, not much influenced by future perspective. So these people, when they want to do something or they want to achieve something, it's to satisfy something about their past memory or some. They want to make their mother and father proud. Or they want to make some society element proud. They want to do it for the society. They want to do it for the past, hmm, like a tribute or like a past goal. You have a childhood dream of achieving something, then this kind of a tea happens. What happens is that these people, they do achieve what they want to achieve, but they only stuck with that much line of sight. Their mind is not able to observe more perspective of the opportunities. Okay. Do you happen to know if a specific trait exists in specific languages? Like, yes, I have been through certain languages through analysis, and yes, there are certain traits which are unique to that language, which seem to give it a certain advantage over another language. So, let's take for example the language of Hindi. Hindi has got a certain language trait in it where culturalism becomes very strong. Science, unfortunately, becomes weak in Hindi language. So, even though the Sanskrit language has got a history of amazing Vedas and Upanishads and amazing knowledge, but it was never really propagated as much as the religious part of the language. So, if you count the number of religious texts and cultural texts written in Hindi compared to the amount of scientific progressions written in Hindi, the contrast is vast. On the other hand, English has got a certain advantage of making science slightly easier to understand. That's why most of the scientific thought patterns are easier to understand in English. Although science in English or science in Hindi means the same thing, the concept remains the same, but the explanation can seem to be a little complicated. So certain languages have certain advantages and disadvantages. Doesn't make them a better advantage in society or the other. It depends on what works. Okay, what you're looking out for. Persian language and Arabic languages have got a very strong vibe for understanding emotions. Like, in Urdu and in Persian language, if you say a certain poetry and you convert that poetry into English language, you lose 90% of the flavor, the emotion behind it. If you convert it word to word, like if you use Google Translate to convert a Urdu shairi or the Persian poetry, Arabic poetry into English, the essence of that poetry for a person who learns both the languages, he'll know that the essence is lost. In fact, even Hindi poetry, when you convert it into English, there's certain loss of power in it. Okay, that's the nature of the language. There's nothing much we can do about it. And languages like a collective consciousness of a person. Okay, all right. So now we have a couple of minutes left. Today's session has been really interesting. If you all come up with more professions which you all can think about, you can post it online and we can see how graphology can associate with it. Okay. So thank you very much for a wonderful session. It was very enlightening, very interesting. As more queries come up, we'll be able to answer more. Anybody have more questions? Any more thoughts? Any more ideas? Any perceptions you'd like to express? Okay. So thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to be with you. And on the 14th of Feb, I'll be launching something new in the world of graphology, and we will have a live session on the 14th of February. And let's see if uh, that creates a new opportunity for you to get benefit from graphology. Okay. So thank you very much. And if there are any more pending questions, please ask them to me in the next session. All right. Thank you very much, and good day to you. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, and have a lovely time.